Hello everyone, welcome to Anime No Me, and thank you for joining us for another One Piece video. Today we're going to be talking about Luffy's mentor Rayleigh and his movements now that Luffy has awakened his devil fruit and apparently become or earned the title of Joy Boy. Rayleigh, as well as Roger, has all the knowledge of the Lost Century and several other great secrets that are really not known to many other people in the world because they sailed together in the entire seas searching for the One Piece, which was something that they managed to do, but ended up leaving the treasure for the next generation to find. And when Rayleigh met Luffy, he saw that this boy carried with him a great determination just like his former captain Roger. So he knew that this boy could become a great pirate in the future. Besides, Shanks had already said something about Luffy to Rayleigh, something that made Rayleigh wait for him at Sabati Archipelago. Now that Luffy has managed to awaken his fruit, there's even a possibility that Rayleigh may go to find him again to guide his next steps so that Luffy and the Straw Hats can find the One Piece. So today's video, we're going to talk about the possibility of Rayleigh meeting Luffy again to talk about the past, very important events that he and his Captain Roger found out about Joy Boy. But before we dive into the video, if you're new to the channel or even if you've been around for a few videos, we'd be absolutely honored if you consider leaving us a like or even subscribing and maybe a comment letting us know what you thought of the video. It really helps us out and motivates us to make more content, and if you'd like to help us out in a bigger way, consider sharing the video or the channel with a friend. But without further ado, let's get into the video. So friends, Rayleigh has been a great ally of Luffy's, and from the moment that he had heard about Luffy from Shanks, he wanted to meet him face to face. But being quite a distance away, Rayleigh then decided to stay at a place where Luffy would have to go through to continue his journey across the Grand Line, and that of course was Sabati Archipelago. So once Luffy arrived in Sabati, Rayleigh ended up finding him, and through getting to know him in multiple conversations, Rayleigh became even more interested in Luffy, because in this rubber boy, he saw the very same spirit that his Captain Roger had. Rayleigh might have even guessed that if Luffy had really followed in Roger's footsteps to become king of the pirates, that he would in fact succeed. I mean, after all, this boy seemed special, and he possessed a determination that few others ever possessed. And the more that they talked, the more amused Rayleigh was, and the more he compared Luffy's behavior to his former captains. But it was once that Luffy said that it was the king of the pirates that was the most free at sea. It was then that Rayleigh really took Luffy to his word and knew that this was perhaps the one that Roger had been waiting for. So once Rayleigh had kind of created this great friendship with Luffy and this trust, Rayleigh even offered to pass on the knowledge and said, I could tell you everything about the Lost Century and the One Piece and exactly where it is, but Luffy refuses and says that he wants to find out for himself. After the events of the Sabati Archipelago arc, Rayleigh says goodbye to Luffy in hopes of finding him again, and he felt that Luffy really again might be that one that Roger was waiting for to find the One Piece. So after leaving Sabati, Luffy then headed to Marineford to basically try and rescue his brother Ace. But after all of that event, he ended up going and ended up on Amazon Lily. So Rayleigh swam, including through a part of the Calm Belt where Sea Kings were, through all these dangerous waters to reach Amazon Lily, where Luffy was recovering from his injuries after the devastating loss of Ace and the rest of his crew. After talking for a while, Rayleigh decides to help Luffy go back to Marineford with Jinbei so that he could send a secret message to the rest of the Straw Hats, so that after, instead of 3 days, there would be 2 years that they would wait to reunite so that all of them could train and become stronger in the intervening 2 years. Rayleigh then invites Luffy to become his apprentice, and he helps the boy with the Straw Hat to become stronger so that he can defeat the dangers that are yet to come. Because as we saw, Luffy was not strong enough to defeat the powerful enemies that were at Marineford, and after everything that happened at Sabati, we also see how that ended. So Rayleigh instructed Luffy on how to master all 3 different types of Haki, which allowed him to perfect his gears and even going up to Gear 4th, a power which has 3 different forms that we've seen so far for him to use during combat. As they worked together, Luffy and Rayleigh began to have a great respect between student and teacher, and both created a great respect for each other to the point that Rayleigh was even willing to tell very important information that he discovered and really probably had never told a single other soul, and he offered it freely to Luffy. But through all their time together and all of the ways that Rayleigh had made Luffy stronger and worked with him to gain this power, he may not have known what the power of Luffy's fruit really was and how it linked back to the events of the Void Century or even Joy Boy. So he may not have put the pieces together or known the final piece that Joy Boy is needed to reach whatever this final piece of the One Piece treasure is. But after spending 2 years training together, it was clear that they both had become really close. And although Rayleigh enjoyed Luffy's company, he knew that he had to let Luffy leave because he had to go fulfill his dream together with his shipmates and his crewmates. So while heading towards the Thousand Sunny, Luffy shouted to Rayleigh that he would become the Pirate King, leaving Rayleigh with a smile and tears in his eyes, showing that Rayleigh really believed in that boy's dream. Rayleigh also publicly declared to the Marines that Luffy was his student, saying that if something happened to Luffy, he would be the first one there to save his student. And he even goes as far to say that Luffy is the only person worthy of wearing that straw hat. Because Rayleigh saw in Luffy the very same determination and energy of his former Captain Roger. So he knew that in the future, Luffy would find the treasure that he always longed for, as well as being able to discover the secrets of the past on his own. But coming up to current events that have happened here at the end of our Wano arc, recently, Luffy managed to awaken this amazing power that was often feared in the past. And this power was seen in the past as the sun god Nika, a power so great that it brought freedom to those who were persecuted and enslaved around the world. Something kind of similar that Rayleigh alluded to about the Pirate King doing on his own adventures. However, at some point, this Joy Boy disappeared, but the tales of his accomplishments still remained and were spread throughout the world, where some people even expected or still expect the return of the sun god Nika. But when Luffy unlocked and awakened his fruit, he inherited this divine power. And now with this great power that seems to have no limit but his imagination, he has become someone that people have been waiting for. So as we see the Wano arc end, there are going to be pirates and marines that will discover that Luffy has managed to awaken this power. And news is going to travel around the world, not only to where Luffy's bounty is going to increase, but also people are going to see his image and know that Joy Boy has returned. And also, it's really only a matter of time until Luffy's allies and crew members will find out that this is a power that the Gorosei have tried to keep hidden. And while he used his power to defeat Kaido, this is not going to stay quiet. That this is gonna get back to the Gorosei and they're gonna know exactly what they're dealing with. So bringing this to Rayleigh, because Rayleigh knows about the events of the past, he must know really well that Joy Boy was at least the ancient bearer of this power, because Joy Boy was synonymous, or at least it seems to be the same person as this ancient sun god Nika. So knowing this, Rayleigh, once he sees it and learns it, he's gonna wanna set off to meet Luffy again. Not necessarily to train him. I mean, after all, he's already taught Luffy everything necessary to become stronger. But what he can do is tell him secrets that may have happened to Joy Boy and to talk about what Luffy needs to do and possibly tasks that he's inherited. Because during the Void Century, something had to have happened to Joy Boy because he's of course the former owner of this power. Now, this would make Rayleigh feel the need to tell Luffy the way in which Joy Boy might have lost his life if this is something that is known. He may also even just want to pass on other information about important events about what happened in the Void Century, especially the Ancient Kingdom, and why this kingdom was the target of so many other kingdoms to the point that they were destroyed. And again, not just the history part, but Rayleigh may be the exact mentor that Luffy needs to understand what responsibility is now in his hands. Because with the awakening of this power and achieving the title of Joy Boy, he's now responsible for bringing freedom to the world. His main goal can no longer be just to defeat the powerful enemies that get in his way of getting to the One Piece, but rather it's become something much more important, something that will affect the entire world. We've seen from the limited history that we've learned that the former Joy Boy title was a very recognizable person during the Void Century, and even the Gorosei and at least the original founding kingdoms feared his power. So after he lost his life, they not only tried to continually get his devil fruit, but they wanted to keep it in a protected location and even change its name so that nobody would make the connection. And for the world government to have gone through all that trouble, the former Joy Boy must have caused some immense difficulty for the kingdoms that became the world government, saving people of those kingdoms and fighting against their plans for dominating and enslaving different people. Just one example of liberation was how Joy Boy tried to help the fishmen and try to move them from the bottom of the ocean to the surface through the way of Noah, the Sea Kings, and of course Poseidon. But through some unforeseen circumstances, it prevented him from keeping his promise. But in a poneglyph, the very one of the first ones we ever got to see, in fact, he says that someone in the future will come to bring Noah to the surface and fulfill his promise. And all of this story could be possibly referring to the next Joy Boy, who would be Luffy. So Joy Boy, or possibly through the assumed name of the sun god Nika, he helped many people through his lifetime, and a proof of this is how many people know about the sun god's tale. Just to name a few places, in Skypiea they have this belief of this day, and on Fishman Island, and even in Elbaf, which is the land of the giants, they know about the tale of the sun god Nika. But apparently the world government doesn't want this information to be out with the rest of the world. After all, they are the ones who are responsible for hiding the existence of Joy Boy and that of the Void Century. And they may even have been integral in Joy Boy losing his life, because maybe Joy Boy was the one who almost succeeded in stopping them, and they don't want anyone motivating themselves to try to do the same thing that Joy Boy once did, because whatever there's left to do could ultimately damage and destroy the world government's reputation. But coming back to Rayleigh, having participated in this adventure together with his former captain, he knows all the truths about the events and knows about the existence of Joy Boy, and may already perhaps know that Luffy may have been chosen, or at least had a strong possibility of becoming the next Joy Boy. After all, Shanks told him that Luffy had eaten the Gomu Gomu no Mi, and he also saw a great determination in Luffy's eyes. So Rayleigh might have been waiting for the right moment for Luffy to accomplish what Roger was unable to do. So as any good mentor would, he gives Luffy training, but then allows him to discover this dream on his own, and thus become the next hope of the world. But for now that Luffy has become Joy Boy, there is no reason for Rayleigh to keep this information a secret and go and talk to Luffy and inform him. Rayleigh might even feel it's very important to go to Luffy and tell him some very important information about what the real goals of the former Joy Boy from the past were, so that Luffy could accomplish not only the mission, but also be informed, because again, this is something that not only Joy Boy, but Roger could not accomplish. One last thing to consider, if Rayleigh tells these big secrets that the world government has been trying to keep hidden all these hundreds of years, by passing this on to Luffy, Rayleigh could become an even larger target of the Marines. Now, of course, we know that Rayleigh would stand side by side with Luffy during this final battle, but what if it is the fact that Rayleigh becomes in danger that it further perpetuates our final conflict with the world government? So with all that said, friends, we'd love to know what you think about it. Do you think that Rayleigh might have been waiting for this, or that Rayleigh will show up because he does, after all, have a lot of information? And also, if Rayleigh were to show up, do you think Luffy might listen now, or still say, nah, I'll figure it out as I go? Let us know what you think in the comments below. As we bring our video to a close, I want to thank you so much for watching all the way up to the very end. Now be sure to comment on any themes or ideas that you'd like to see in future videos. And also, since you made it this far, why don't you give us a like or hit that red subscribe button before you head out to take on the rest of your day. I hope to see you all in our next video, and let's keep sailing this giant sea together. Take care.